Okay, this will be a tricky movie because I have a little 4-year-old boy with an earache, and it's not very happy. Oh, I remember those days. I had those problems when I was a little boy, and it was tough. So if if you hear some crying, or if I just pardon myself and get up for a second or two, just know that everything is going to be okay. All right, so let's talk about the pencil tool. This is going to put us into basically the territory that you need to be in order to do your first two assignments. The first assignment being a still life um, uh, sort of rough sketch assignment, and the second being your project. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm gonna open up a new document and with the artboard settings so that I am I'm asking for you to have for these two pieces of work that you'll be submitting. So I'm going to go to File, New, and I'll just call it Pencil for now. The document profile I want you to use is from Web, and the size for these pieces are going to be 800 by 600. It's just kind of a good starting size for us. And today I'm just going to do one artboard, but for your still life you're going to need three, because I'm going to have you do three different still life pieces with the pencil tool. But for your project, just one artboard is going to be good. Go ahead and hit OK, and that opens up our document, and there's the nice big 800 by 600 file. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the pencil tool. And the pencil tool is kind of a great first basic tool to get into. It's very simple and allows us to do some drawing, and creates nice lines, and has a lot of different settings that we can apply to the pencil to achieve some different looks or get some assistance with some sketching outcomes. So the pencil tool is located in the drawing tool area, kind of down towards the bottom, underneath the brush. And the pencil tool, when you select it, is basically going to lay down a line based on the settings that we have set in the control bar. And so let's have a look at the control bar and see what kind of settings we have. We have a fill color, which is what this first little swatch is here. And if you open that up, it gives us some of our basic swatches for fill. However, we're not going to be working with fills until a while yet. I'm going to be asking that you guys just work with paths and lines. So for now, that swatch will not make a difference because we're not going to have any fills. The one that will make a difference is this one here. This is your swatch for your stroke. And for the first still life and for the first assignment, your project 1, I only want you to use black for your stroke color, because I want us to start very simply. So don't worry about changing it. If it's set to a different color, then make sure it's black. And then we have our stroke settings here, and the stroke has a little underline here, and it's highlighted. You can sort of see that when you pass over the word stroke, it basically tells you can click on it and get some settings. So when you open up the stroke, a few things that we have control over would be weight, and that's how thick the stroke or line is going to be. One point is very thin. And then we have cap, and that's basically the nature of the end of your lines. And there's three options. The first one is called a butt cap, and that just means that it's going to butt up to the end of your segment, or the very first and last anchor the line will be butted up to it, and it will be squarish or rectangular, I guess, in nature. The second one is a rounded cap, and that means that it's going to be butted up to the end of your line segment, but will round itself off, so it kind of extends itself to a nice round end, and gives you a little bit more of an organic looking line. Sometimes is really nice to have that set up. And then here we have our projecting cap, and that basically does something similar to what the round cap does. Is it extends beyond the end of your segment, but it is more squarish in nature. And that's basically all I want to talk about right now as far as the options in here. We'll get a little deeper later when these things make more of an impact on our work. But you can change the stroke weight here, or just stay with stroke weight in this area. And you can increase it or decrease it incrementally by clicking the up or down arrows. I'm going to go to a weight of 4 just for the time being. Or you can select from a list of preset stroke weights if you click the big arrow on the right. So that's your stroke weight. This here, I really don't want us to get into these. I want us to stay uniform. That's what it is set to by default, even though it's not saying it right now. It's a little strange. And then this is our brush type or style, basically. And once again, I don't want to get into anything crazy. I want to keep this very simple. And we start off with a 2-point oval. There's a 5-point oval, there's a flat one, a 3-point round, and so on. But this is a good start for us now. And then styles, let's not get into styles either. So I basically want you to bypass these for the still life and for your project one. I want these to be super clean, super simple, and just focusing on the pencil tool and the line that it creates while you draw. The one thing that you can play with besides the stroke weight is your opacity. This is kind of nice. It helps create a little bit more sense of layering, even depth. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at 100 so we can see our path pretty well. The pencil tool itself has some settings to it that you can access by double-clicking on the pencil. So when you double-click on the pencil, it opens up the pencil tool options. And the top area is something called your tolerances. And we have a fidelity slider and a smoothness slider. Fidelity deals with the number of anchor points that the illustrator will lay down on the path that you have drawn with your pencil. And the more anchor points, the more complex the line can become. And often a little more chaotic at times, sure. Smoothness basically means the greater the smoothness percentage, the more generous illustrator will be at cleaning up a shaky line. So if you have a really high percentage on your smoothness and you draw a line that's kind of jagged and crooked, it would clean it up for you pretty well. The options underneath here, fill new pencil strokes. For these two first assignments, we want that to be unchecked. I don't want any fills. So the cool thing about the pencil tool is that if you're using it without this being checked, you're not going to have to worry about the fills at all. But if it's checked, it's going to want to fill it with whatever your foreground color is or your fill color. And those fills are going to get in the way of all of the strokes. Every time you lay down a new path, it stacks it on top of the previous one. And if there's a fill involved, then it's going to obscure the parts of the strokes underneath it. We're going to get into fills later, and we're going to have a whole assignment just based on fills. But right now, I just want you to focus on lines and these paths that we create. This whole thing about keeping your line selected, basically once you draw a line, that path will become highlighted and selected as if you had just clicked on it with your selection tool. And it gets kind of annoying because there's this feature called Edit Selected Paths, which is also checked here right now. So if you were to be drawing a lot of lines real close to each other, and every time you draw one it's selected and you try to draw another one next to it, it's going to think that you want to edit the one that is selected. So I like to uncheck Keep Selected. The Edit Selected Paths is handy, and we can do that on our own sort of manually as we go along and address the nature of our lines. So I'm just going to kind of demonstrate some pencil strokes, and I'm going to come back in. I'm going to mess with fidelity and smoothness so you can see it demonstrated as to what's actually going on, and then I'll also work with the Edit of Selected Paths feature. So I'm going to hit OK. And right now my tolerances are pretty low, so if I were to come in and draw a line, just a big old squiggly, there's the result of that pencil stroke. And you can see generally it's pretty smooth. It's not real rough, but I'm using a stylus and a graphics tablet, so it's going to be a little more smooth than if I were using a mouse or my trackpad on my laptop. If you're drawing with your trackpad on your laptop, I will reach through the screen and slap you. That's just absolutely unacceptable as a designer. Absolutely unacceptable. It's baloney. Don't do it. Get yourself a graphics tablet. You're in an Illustrator class. You should be holding a pen or pencil. It'd be like going to a life drawing class and bringing, gosh, what would it be like bringing? Bringing a brick and trying to draw fine lines and whatnot with a brick. Or a big rock. Well, that's what a brick is. Whatever. Okay, so there's my path. I just drew that with the current settings in my pencil. If I were to go back into those settings and increase my fidelity, let's just say I go up to like 10, and I draw a very similar path. Not too much difference, but you can see that at the points of a couple of these, or I guess at the end of my curves, they are pointy. And that didn't really happen over here with a lower fidelity. If I select both these paths now, I'm going to hold down Shift to select multiple items. Oh, I got my fidelity backwards. You know what? That's what practice is all about. I teach this every year. You'd think I would remember, but I'm an artist. I'm supposed to get things backwards and messed up. Okay, look, this is a low fidelity, and you can see that there's a bunch of points. The fact that there are a bunch of points is basically assisting this line so that it doesn't have to be such a long stretch between points where you can get into some less detailed lines. So if we look at the one with a higher fidelity, you can see that there's a point basically at the end of each of my curves. And that would mean that if I were to grab my direct selection tool and have a look at a point, that just means that the curve has been instructed by Bezier handles, and they're not always that great at deciphering what your path should look like. It kind of cuts a couple corners and cuts things short. So here's this pointy end. You can see that the Bezier handles are kind of angled that way, and that's going to end up giving me a point. If I were to come in and select any of the points along this path, the curves are there. There's Bezier handles. They're very short. They don't have to be very long because it's not a very long trip until the next point. And the fact that all these points are just kind of like buddied up helps produce a nice smooth line. I'm going to select those and delete them, go back to my pencil tool, and I'm going to do the opposite. Now I'm going to leave this fidelity down at 1, and I'm going to increase my smoothness to 50. Just kind of go a bit dramatic. So if I have an initial crazy sketch, and I'm just kind of like, I'm sort of going crazy, just letting my pencil just sort of go all over the place. It looks like my line will be really detailed, but as soon as I let go, you see that it ends up rounding a lot of those sharp little corners off. It's being very, what would that be? Passive, I guess. And I got some nice curves along here. So it still allows me to get a pretty funky shape, but it softens it quite a bit. If I did something similar with keeping my smoothness up and then increased my fidelity, what I'm doing by increasing my fidelity is I'm decreasing the amount of points that go along this path. So if I were to draw something very similar, oh, the little guy's crying. It sucks. I'm going to have to go deal with Mr. Earache here in a little bit. Hopefully I can get through this before it gets too out of control. Alright, so here's a line that's very similar in nature. As soon as I let go, well, it's pretty close, isn't it? Pretty close. But let's select them and we'll see what happens with the points. Way more points along this line than there are along here, which means that in areas that have a greater distance between points, there can be less detail because you can only have a single segment curve or point or whatever. No, I shouldn't use the word point. Curve or direct itself more directly to another point so in such a way. But over here with all these dots, it gives me a chance to get a little more funky with my line as opposed to, well, it's interesting, it really kind of came in tight right around there. Wasn't really expecting that. Let's do one more. And let's increase our fidelity all the way and our smoothness all the way. So I'm going with a fidelity of 20 and a smoothness of 100. This is maxed out. So now if I come in and do a very similar shaky kind of rough line, you can see that's far more generalized now. And way, would it be more forgiving or less forgiving? It's probably more forgiving. It's really easing things out. And now you'll really see it if I try to draw like a circle. I'm not very good at drawing circles, right? No one really is very good at drawing circles. That's not true. There's some people who are good at drawing circles. And when I draw a circle that has a lot of kind of irregularities to it, and I let go, you can see how it just sort of snaps and smooths itself down quite a bit. If I go back into my pencil settings and decrease my fidelity and keep my smoothness up, and I draw a circle with some of those irregularities, it's still cleaning it up. I'm getting more points along the way though. If I come back and decrease my smoothness, let's just say we go with a 2 and 10, and I draw another circle. This time I'm going a little slower. I'm trying to get more bumps. It helps smooth some of those bumps out, but definitely is getting more like the circle that I drew. So you'll find that playing with those settings is real critical as far as trying to get the kind of line that you're looking for. Fidelity of 1 and a smoothness of 0 and a short, sort of shaky circle is going to keep my circle rather shaky and a bit more organic, less polished. So there's times when maybe you're doing life drawing and you're trying to stay fairly accurate to what is, in front of you, say a still life or whatever. You might want to have a bit of those discrepancies. If I were drawing a beer bottle, I happen to have one right next to me right now. If I'm looking at my bottle and I want to start playing with some of these shapes that I see here, I may want a bit of that handheld look. Whoa, that's got a good line right there. It's a big bottle of beer. Well, this is not going to be very good. Yeah, what's up, beer? Oh, that's a what? Really? What am I drinking? Maybe it's more like a bottle of whiskey or something. I would definitely want to rework that. And this is when, I'm doing all this on purpose, by the way. This is when the editing feature comes in handy. So if I were to select this line, and I go, oh man, you're just screwing this thing up. Look at that, it looks terrible. Let's work it out. I get my pencil, double click on it, making sure that edit selected paths is selected. If I come back in and try to redraw, oh crap, I'm too far away. I'll have to start over here. I'll explain that in a second. Womp. There we go. You can see how it overwrote that line and corrected it the way that I wanted it to. I'll hit undo. I'll try it again. Curving up and going up to the bottleneck. There. So that's what edit selected paths will do. But I'm not really pleased with this line, so I would go back in and I would say let's work with a higher smoothness factor. I'll try 20% first. I'm going to come in, I'm going to try this part of the bottleneck first and this little ramp. And it's nice, it's taking away some of that bumpiness, it's giving me the chance to go along and sort of clean it up. I'm thinking that that's, looking better. It's looking better. What if I go in and increase my fidelity? I'll go with a fidelity of 12. And now come down and do the same line basically. Well, it's really hard to ever nail the exact same line. But look how much smoother that is now. I'm increasing my fidelity and it's lowering my anchor points along the segment, which means that the chance that there will be irregularities along that path are going to be more slim. So now I'll try this side. I'll come down the bottleneck, I'll flange out a little bit, come down the side, take my corner, and I've got a real nice looking smooth line now. Except, you know what, I think it loses some of its charm. So I'm going to select the top up here, and we'll kind of come along and do the same thing, see what happens. I get the pointy thing. This is where definitely you see the benefit of going in and assigning different values comes in handy. But not too bad. The last little thing I would do, well, I'd probably close the top off and put the little hole in there, but I don't mind the subtle suggestion of that. But this is when the creation of a path is now ready to be tweaked to a better standard by using the direct selection tool. So I'm going in, I'm grabbing my anchors, I'm looking at my Bezier points. Sometimes it's so hard to get them. And I'm just moving a few things out, trying to look at the other side of my bottle. What do I need to do? I got to have a tighter corner down there. So maybe I'll move this a bit like that and kind of bring it down. That looks a little bit more like that corner. And yeah, whatever. I could sit here forever and tweak this. I don't like that point, but I know that I can fix it with my Beziers. Kind of polish it up. Maybe I want to pull that line up there. These guys stick out quite a bit. I'll pull that back in. So little earache man has come out and is now watching me draw a beer bottle. Say hi to everybody, Riley.
Hi.
Oh, the poor guy. So that's the work with the pencil. And I'm going to come back and show you a few more tricks. So that's pencil part 1. I'm going to take care of this little dude, and we'll look at some opacity changes, some weight changes, and see what else we can do. And we'll keep working with the beer bottle.